Hey you guys, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have the There and Back Again collection by Femme Fatale. This is a collection of 8 different polishes based around the book of The Hobbit, which has a very special place in my heart. I did purchase all of these from Beautometry. I will link them down below. I believe they're still in stock. They retail for $10 a piece, and Beautometry ships for free over $50. And they shipped really quickly, so I'll go ahead and show you my swatches. First up is Heart of the Mountain, and this one is described as a very pale silvery blue that primarily looks silver gray or pearl white, but you'll catch bluish tinges on occasion. It has a linear hollow with fine ultra hollow glitters and a very strong red to yellow flash. So here is a brush shot. I got a lot of the red flash, not so much of the yellow, and this is very, very pale silvery blue. So I'll show you how Heart of the Mountain swatched on my natural nail. I think with Femme Fatales, it's very typical for the first coat to be super sheer. So this is the first coat. I'll let that dry and come back in for a second coat. So here is the second coat. I feel like the second coat kind of sticks better to itself. I actually swatched without a base coat today, which is very unusual for me. The second coat did build it up, but it's still not quite opaque, so I'm going to come in for one more coat. So here is my third coat. This one dries down pretty smooth, but you will want a top coat to keep it nice and glossy. I did a much thicker third coat, but this is still kind of on the edge of being completely opaque, so you may prefer a fourth coat. Here is a look at the completed mani. I did not top coat today either. I wanted you to be able to see the natural finish. Let me know down below if you would prefer to see swatches with top coat. I kind of go back and forth between wanting to show them how they are or how they would look. So here is a look at another angle in direct sunlight. This one is a beauty. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting. And once more at an angle in direct sunlight. Next up is Wandering Wizard, and this one is described as a sheer-based micro glitter topper, full of holographic silvers with a hint of lavender and a smattering of orange luminescence. So this one has larger glitter pieces that are scattered holographic. It does have a kind of metallic silver finish. Here is a brush shot. And I'll show you how Wandering Wizard swatched on my natural nail. So this one is described as a topper, and I found that that's probably really accurate. It seemed a little bit base heavy for me, so I kind of had to move the glitters around to make sure they were dispersed correctly. It wasn't a problem at all, just not what I was expecting. So I am going to let this dry and come back in for a second coat. Here is the second coat of Wandering Wizard, and I think that this is one that could be easily built up, especially if you sponge or anything like that, but I do like that it's versatile enough to use as a topper. I'm going to let this dry and come back in for one more coat. So here is the last coat, and I do believe that this is going to bring it completely opaque for me. You do get a lot of that gold or orange shimmer. I think this one is going to look amazing with a glossy top coat. It is a little bit textured. So here is a look at the completed mani without top coat. Super sparkly. I love they made it gray for Gandalf the Grey. Here it is at another angle in direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting. And once more at an angle in direct sunlight. Next up is My Precious, and this one is described as a clear topper filled with golden glitters and strong pink shimmers. So here is a bottle shot. That pink shimmer really warms up the gold and makes it not really a rose gold, but very, very warm tinted. So I'll show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how My Precious swatched on my natural nail. So here is one coat. Again, this is described as a topper. I think that it could absolutely be used as a topper. It's kind of thin on the first coat. And I had to be mindful of where I was brushing the glitters. So I will let this dry and then come back in for a second coat. Okay, here is the second coat. This one is going to dry down textured as well. The second coat really builds that gold up a lot, but it's not completely opaque, so I am going to come back in for one more coat. Here is the third coat, and this one is going to bring it completely opaque for me. I think that's pretty typical for a Femme Fatale. So here is a look at the completed mani without top coat. Here it is from another angle in direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and once more at an angle in direct sunlight. Next up is Elven King, and this one is described as a gorgeous, warm, earthy bronze crelly filled with soft glints of antique gold, shifting gold to green flakies, and iridescence. This one is super unique. Has a lot of those gold flakies in it and that green shimmer. So I'll show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how Elven King swatched on my natural nail. So here is one coat. This one has a really buttery, smooth formula. It is thin though, and it did kind of pull on me. I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup there in my cuticles. So this first coat is really thin. I am going to let it dry and then come back in for a second coat. Here I'm going to use a little bit of acetone and catch what was pooling. So here is the second coat. The formula is thin, but it's so buttery and smooth, really easy to apply. It feels great going on, and it dries really quickly. This is not opaque in 2 coats, so I will let this dry and come back in for one more coat. Here is the third coat. This one does dry down a little bit darker than it applies. So I'm going to do a thicker third coat, and I think this is going to bring it right to the edge of being opaque. I really would love to see how this one looks matte with all those flakies in it. Really unique. I think this would be a great fall collection. There's lots of browns and purples. So here's a look at the completed mani without top coat. This is a view from another angle in direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and once more at an angle in direct sunlight. Next up is Lonely Mountain, and this one is described as a warm earthy brown that leans almost bronze brown with an overlay of bold green shimmers. So this one is really unique too. It's almost a deep kind of caramel color. It does have pink shimmer in here as well. I'll try to catch it in the angle here so you can see all that pink shimmer that comes out to play. So I'll show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how Lonely Mountain swatched on my natural nail. So again, this one has a really nice buttery formula. It is a little more opaque than the others, but still quite sheer. So I'll let this dry and come back in for a second coat. So here is the second coat. I am going to do a little bit of a thicker second coat, but I think this is one of the only ones that you can get away with 2 coats. I did do a third coat and it didn't really change the finish or color much, so I think this is a true 2-coater. This one is also going to benefit from a top coat to keep it nice and glossy. Here's a look at the completed mani without top coat. Here it is from another angle in direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and once more at an angle in direct sunlight. So next up is the last great fire drake, and this one is described as a strong plum magenta jelly base with turquoise flash and golden hollow glitters. So this is a really unique combination as well. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how the last great fire drake swatched on my natural nail. So here is one coat. Again, this goes on really sheer but easily. This one wasn't as thin as Elven King, so I didn't have as much trouble. Just really easy. I am going to let this dry and come back in for a second coat. So here is the second coat. I bet one coat over black looks really cool as well. So the second coat builds this one up. You do get a lot more of those glitters, but it's not completely opaque. I had really great coverage at 2 coats. I think if you wanted to, you could stop here, but I'm going to do a third coat, and a third coat is going to deepen it up and just add more of that glitter in. I feel like it also builds that shift up a little bit, so for me it was worth it. Here is a look at the completed mani without top coat. This is another one that's really going to benefit from top coat. Those glitters dried a little bit textured. So here it is from another angle in direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting. And once more at an angle in direct sunlight. So next up is the Necromancer, and this one is described as a brilliant pink jelly with hints of purple tones and filled with cherry hollow, blue shimmers, and warm flakies. There are a ton of those flakies in there. It's really pretty. This definitely has a much warmer feel than the last Great Fire Drake. So I'll show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how the Necromancer swatched on my natural nail. So here is one coat, again, really thin sheer coat. It does have, nice even coverage, but very, very sheer. So I'll let this dry and come back in for a second coat. Okay, here is the second coat. This one's going to dry down textured as well because of all that glitter and the flakes. A second coat builds it up nicely. If you wanted to and you don't hate visible nail line, you could get away with 2. I am going to come back in for one more coat. So here is the third coat. I feel like, again, this is worth it. It deepens it up and adds a lot more of those flakes and glitters and shimmers. So here is a look at the completed mani without top coat. Here it is from another angle in direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting. And once more at an angle in direct sunlight. So lastly, I have Thief in the Shadows, and this one is described as a plum purple jelly with blue to pink shimmers and a silver holographic glitter. The silver holographic glitter is a little bit larger in this one. I would really love to see how this one compares to Beautometry's Crackling Comet, their Femme Fatale exclusive. So I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how Thief in the Shadows swatched on my natural nail. So here is one coat. This one again is sheer. I had to be a little bit mindful that I wasn't sweeping the glitters off. So that's one coat. I'll let that dry and come back in for another coat. So here is the second coat. This does deepen it up and adds a lot more of those glitters. I feel like with a thicker application you could totally get away with 2 coats for this one. It will look better with a top coat. I am going to let this dry and come back in for a third coat. So here is the third coat. This got almost a little bit thick on me, so I don't know if I would do 2 or 3. I think I would do 2 with thicker application. For sure, a third coat is going to bring this one completely opaque. So here is a look at the completed mani without top coat. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting. And once more at an angle in direct sunlight. So that wraps up my swatch and review of the There and Back Again collection by Femme Fatale. These are available now. Femme Fatales get kind of hard to find after the collections are released. So if you're interested in any of these, I definitely recommend picking them up as soon as possible. I'd love to hear more collections that you guys would like to see swatched. Please leave me recommendations down below. If you'd like to see more, you can visit my blog at sloppyswatches.wordpress.com or find me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.